Check out nicotine and caffeine and then how it affects sleep. Fascinating. I am doing a deep dive, folks, into Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep. If I can share one thing with you that is a self-care rock star, it is to really get a handle on what is sleep. As we as a human species are evolving, how has our sleep evolved? Self-care, right? Plato, know thyself. Love that quote, right? Memorize that puppy. Know thyself, know thyself. Being a yes in a sea of no. Could I find some hidden secret? Could it even save the planet? We're gonna break down each one of those, why they're on the list, and what's happening out in society with that one thing, because it affects all areas of life. Caffeine and sleep. How do caffeine and nicotine affect your sleep, right? Well, caffeine, it blocks the signal from adenosine, which is a chemical in your brain that promotes sleep. And so when you have caffeine, it blocks that adenosine signal. The thing is that adenosine builds up. So if you push off sleep, they call it sleep pressure when adenosine is not being able to be released, right? And as you get closer to the evening, adenosine levels raise and raise and raise and raise, right? Signal, 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 come on, let me signal, signal, right? And then you take that caffeine, it blocks it. If you drink caffeine later in the day, it can really affect your ability to go to sleep. And caffeine can stay in your body for up to 8 hours. And nicotine is the same. It also is a stimulant that is telling your brain not to release the adenosine. Let's take a look at this diagram and the effects of caffeine on the brain. That's what this kind of analogy is supposed to show us, right? This diagram was actually created by NASA. NASA is actually one of the leading experts on sleep. As you can imagine, astronauts up in space that can circle the planet 16 times and have 16 rises and falls of the sun can really mess with their circadian rhythm. My goodness, right? So it was optimal, man, for NASA to figure that out for their astronauts. How do we keep them on their 24-hour cycle when they're seeing the sun come up and go down? They were really investigating sleep and everything that affects sleep. And so this was the study that they did on caffeine. So what they did was they gave all of these different drugs you see in that diagram, they gave them all to spiders and then watched them proceed to try to create a web. So the big one you see is them with no drugs in them at all, right? Creating a regular web that we're used to seeing, beautiful, amazing. You're like, how do they do that? And then there's, all the different drugs there, right? Marijuana, there's LSD, and of course, bottom right is the worst one, which is caffeine. So that bottom right image of the spider web is how spiders reacted and what they were able to create on caffeine, which was a little bit of nothing, right? Of all of those things, that was the most disruptive to their creativity and their functionality to create that web. Pretty shocking, right? Not at all what I expected to see. I didn't think that caffeine would be the worst of it. 50% of caffeine is gone 5 to 7 hours after the first cup. So it stays in your body for quite some time. Now, 3 cups of decaf are equal to 1 regular, or 20 to 30% of the caffeine, right? And I was on a fast one time and I was with my friends and they were like, that still has caffeine in it. And I was like, oh, decaf does still have a little bit of caffeine in it. As we get older, it takes longer for caffeine to leave our systems. So just know when you're younger, it's gonna get out of there quicker, but as you get older, and it also gets harder to sleep, one of those reasons might be because the caffeine you had in the middle of the day is sticking around with you a little bit longer. Caffeine just masks the feeling of tired, but as we said before, the adenosine is building up. It's still there. It's accumulating, right? That's why there's that big crash. When the caffeine is finally gone, it reveals the adenosine, and that's when you crash. And you're just like, oh, I need more caffeine, right? And when your liver cleans out the last of the caffeine, oh, that's when you crash, right? When it cleans out that last bit of caffeine, boom, down you go. And it's the same for nicotine too. Those two things are just blocking adenosine, but it's not that it's not there. And I don't think a lot of people know that, or why it is that we crash from caffeine. That's why. That's why we crash from caffeine, because caffeine is blocking it, but that adenosine that tells you, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, is still right there. So there you go. A little 411 on caffeine and nicotine. Okay, what's next?